It's time now to check your money with America's money maven, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Vicki, how are you today? I hope everything is well. I got to tell you, there's a little nip in the air, and I know you've been turning that heat on.
Last week, George, and good morning to you, first of all, but last week we spoke about what's happening at the pump.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I did. I turned my heat on this week because it's we definitely have a nip in the air. And I want to say also to you that I love the way you go, Vicki Brackens. I'm gonna do that. George Kilpatrick, how you doing this morning? Listen, last week's show, I was listening to the second half, and I encourage everybody to continue to listen to you throughout the full 2 hours. And you had an amazing conversation with the Planned Giving Director, Vice President at the Central New York Community Foundation, along with Lisa Alford.
Tom Griffith.
Right, Tom Griffith. And I wanted to be sure, because there were a couple of things that Tom said and concepts that he spoke about that I thought would make a lot of sense for me to pick up this week, because the process that's used for collective charitable giving is a very important one for our long-term financial planning. So just want to go back and pick up a couple of those concepts that he talked about. But the first one is this: collective giving. Mm-hmm. We've talked about quite often the importance of collective action. So a community foundation, and we have a great one here, Central New York Community Foundation, which I think has been in existence somewhere like 135, 136, maybe even 140 years, a long, long, long time. So they have a tremendous amount of experience. But what you are looking at is actually an aggregation, a collection of givers who have come together, and now by utilizing their individual funds collectively can drive greater impact in a community. We need to start looking at that as part of our estate planning and our current, because I've said this often, George, we use the word estate planning and everybody thinks about I'm dead and gone.
Right.
No, estate planning is about the creation of assets throughout your life and then the passing of those assets to the next generation. So if we can think about what it would do to create greater impact as far as our giving is concerned, consider utilizing an aggregation system, an aggregation process similar to the community foundation. Because now, instead of having incremental giving, we can concentrate those dollars collectively across different types of mission statements or missions that we have here as far as improving the community. I am a member. I will, I don't think I've said that to you before. I have a fund there at the Community Foundation, have had it for years, because I actually sat on the board there for a while to get a deeper understanding of the operation.
And what kind of fund do you have?
Oh, okay, it's the Jelly, you're gonna love this, the Jelly Bean Angel Fund for Innovation. Okay,
right. I think I heard you say something about this before.
Yeah, yes. some years ago. Okay, and we've continued to add to that fund over the years. That's also the next thing is that Lisa continually mentioned, as far as the Alpha Kappa Alpha Fund, that it was fully endowed. She kept saying it's endowed. Endowed means it will never go away, because instead of distributing the principal, we are distributing the interest, the gain that is made from that fund in a very structured, formulaic way that the Community Foundation utilizes each year, somewhere between 4.5% and 5%. So the principal that we are contributing into the Jelly Bean Angel Fund continues to grow. The fund itself grows because it's being invested on our behalf through the investment structure that the Community Foundation utilizes. I know it well because I was the investment manager, as far as the board manager for the investment fund, there for 3 years while I was on the board. So it's invested, it grows, it's under professional management, But what's most important when Lisa was talking about being endowed is that only a portion is distributed. And you may say, well, that portion is very tiny, because my fund is not a mega fund yet, but it's tiny. But when you add it together with all the hundreds of funds that they have, that's where the impact comes in. And what's most important to me is that that fund is endowed. It is a perpetual fund. It will continue to grow and continue to service the community under the mission that we have, as far as the direction that I have built in. And that's also important. You can tell the fund, you can tell the organization, you can establish a mission for that fund at the time that it is created. So endowing, collective action, okay, as far as utilizing an aggregation system like the Community Foundation, is a great tool for all of us to consider. The third thing that they continued to talk about is something, I hope you remember this, George, and that was donor advised funds.
I recall them talking about that.
Okay, donor advised funds. So what is a donor advised fund? We think about foundations as being a singular entity that we deposit one time into. A donor advised fund, though, is a fund that stands and utilizes a second level of incremental giving. So what would happen is that I could put the money into this box. I'm going to call it the donor advised fund. I can contribute to this box, but I may not know. And I know this may happen to you, George. Every year you're like, I want to impact my community, but I don't know exactly where and how to do so. But I also have a clock that's ticking. The clock that's ticking is the end of the year, where in order to receive the tax credit that's associated with charitable giving, that if that contribution hasn't been made by the end of the year, I won't get that tax credit until the following year. So we've got two things that we're balancing. I want to give, but I have a time limit. A donor advised fund acts as though it is a person or an institution, an individual institution, and allows you to contribute those funds immediately and get the tax benefit, but at a later date, decide who you want those funds to go to. So under the donor advised fund, you are basically acting as the manager of the fund as far as making decisions as far as where those funds will go at a later date, but receiving the tax credit immediately. Now, you don't have to necessarily make a decision next week, next year, 2 years from now. It also is a good way for aggregating or bringing a lot of money incrementally so that you can make larger contributions to individual institutions or individual charities that you may have you may have a desire to help. What's nice about the donor advised fund also, and very similar to the Community Foundation, is that you can only get, they will allow for you to have institutional oversight so they can tell you, are they in compliance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to drop a brochure into our chat so that anybody who wants to look more into the donor advised funds have the ability to do so. So I'm gonna do this last part really, really quickly, George. Hey, everybody.
Yes.
Go vote.
Yes.
Go
I voted.
vote.
Hey, Vicki, I voted. In fact, today, just so you know, by the way, happy Halloween.
Oh yeah, Halloween too. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot about Halloween.
I forgot about it, right? Because it's weird. It's on a Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
But today is the last day for early voting, just so you know.
That's correct. So go vote, because I am really concerned about something I heard during the last mayoral debate here in Syracuse, which is a couple of days ago, back on Spectrum. And that is that the expected turnout is to be somewhere in the 30% range.
Right.
30%? Are you kidding me? Go vote, okay? Your chief administrator in all of our locales is the person who is going to drive policy. That policy is going to drive your pocketbook. Go vote, please. Okay?
Big election in the city of Syracuse. You got the mayoral race. You've got all the legislators up for election, and it's a very critical time. And anyone will tell you, Vicki, that Tip O'Neill, the former Speaker of the House years ago, said that all politics is local. And if you look at what happened across this country with legislators, I'm going to say Republican legislators. I know you're not trying to be partisan right this moment, but I'm saying if you look at what happened across this country, a lot of the focus for Republicans anyway was for control of legislatures in the state and local, and now you see the impact of that with restrictive voting and many other things. And I'm saying that because that's where that movement is coming from. No hate.
Well, you know what, and you made a great point. No, I'm not trying to necessarily talk about particular politics.
Right.
What I am saying is this: when you allow a minority of people, because 30% is a minority against the population, to make a decision on how your policy will be set, and that policy is going to drive your economics, that is a mistake. Get up, go vote.
Go vote.
Everybody.
Yep, I voted. I took advantage of the early voting. I believe the what do you call it? I believe that the timing for today is 10 to 3, I believe.
10 to 3.
So, 10 to 3 for you. So this is your last opportunity. You can vote anywhere where there is early voting, whether it's Camillus, DeWitt, the Southwest Community Center, Armand Magnarelli Community Center, Camillus Town Hall, Clay Town Hall, all across this country. There are opportunities all across this country, all across this county. You can vote anywhere. So,
county. Okay,
right,
exactly.
Whether you live in Clay, you could vote at Southwest. If you live in, Tully, you could vote in Clay. Anywhere you can vote. And so, Vicki, just let me reiterate: the editorial opinions do not reflect those of Brackens Financial Solutions Network. Those opinions are my own.
Or George's, okay.
Or George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation. I take full responsibility for the editorial that I made. They're my opinions. They are not the opinions necessarily of Brackens Financial Solutions Network.
All right. So, George, at this point in time, I'm going to say our plate is full. But I want to remind everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call at area code 315-930-4499. You can always reach us through info@Brackens, that's BRACKENS, FSN.com. And of course, on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Be sure and subscribe, share. And at this point in time, George, as I will say, and like us. And I will say our plate is full. Have a great weekend.
And comment, because that also generates traffic and interest. All right. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. She is America's money maven.